Welcome back to Emotional Healing Mindset. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects many of us, but often goes unnoticed until it's too late: burnout. Now, burnout is more than just feeling tired or stressed out. It's a state of chronic emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. It's like running a marathon with no finish line in sight. Burnout can seep into every aspect of our lives, from our work to our relationships, even our sense of self. It can leave us feeling disconnected, disillusioned, and drained. But the tricky part is, it often creeps up on us subtly. It's not always a dramatic collapse. Sometimes it's a slow, insidious process that we don't recognize until we're deep in the thick of it. But the good news is, it's not irreversible. So, prepare to explore 7 subtle signs that you may be experiencing burnout. Sign number 1: loss of passion. Let's talk about passion. That spark that ignites your interest, fuels your creativity, and drives you to push beyond your limits. Remember the feeling you had when you first discovered a hobby or started a job that you loved? The excitement, the eagerness, the sense of fulfillment. Now ask yourself, do I still feel the same way? Burnout sneaks in silently, seeping into the cracks of your enthusiasm, slowly extinguishing that once roaring flame of passion. What once was a labor of love starts to feel more like a burden. Your favorite hobby becomes another chore on your to-do list. Your work, which used to invigorate you, now feels like a draining obligation. This loss of interest and enthusiasm in pursuits you were once passionate about is a red flag signaling the onset of burnout. The emotional connection you have with your work and hobbies is essential. It's what keeps you engaged, motivated, and fulfilled. When this connection weakens, it's not just a change in mood or a fleeting phase of boredom. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself too hard, that you're draining your emotional reserves, that you're burning out. So the next time you find yourself dragging your feet to your art studio or dreading the start of a new work project, pause and reflect. It's essential to recognize these subtle shifts in your passion and interest. After all, passion is often the first casualty of burnout. Sign #2: chronic exhaustion. We all have those days when we feel like the energy has been sucked right out of us. The to-do list seems endless, the deadlines loom large, and the weight of the world feels heavy on our shoulders. But what happens when those days turn into weeks, and weeks into months? What happens when you're constantly running on empty? No matter how much sleep you get, or how many cups of coffee you gulp down in a desperate attempt to keep going. This is more than just your typical tiredness. This is chronic exhaustion, and it's a telling sign of burnout. Burnout can manifest as a relentless sense of fatigue that no amount of rest seems to alleviate. You might find yourself feeling drained, both physically and mentally, even when you've had a full night's sleep. Your body might be telling you that it's time to rest, but your mind is whirling with thoughts and worries that just won't let you switch off. But here's the thing, your body and mind need more than just physical rest. They need rejuvenation. They need time to recharge, to heal, to regain their strength. They need time to breathe, to relax, to just be. So, the next time you find yourself feeling inexplicably worn out, take a moment to listen to what your body and mind are trying to tell you. Because it's important to recognize when your body and mind need more than just physical rest. They need rejuvenation. Sign #3: increased irritability. It's not uncommon to experience moments of frustration and impatience in our daily lives. However, if you find yourself increasingly irritable, snapping at colleagues or loved ones for minor inconveniences, it could be a sign of burnout. When we're feeling overwhelmed or stretched thin, our fuse can become notably shorter. This heightened irritability can be a direct result of stress, exhaustion, and the constant feeling of being under pressure. It can feel as if you're carrying a heavy load, and even the smallest obstacles seem like insurmountable challenges. This can make it difficult to manage emotions effectively, leading to a quicker temper and less patience than usual. Moreover, this irritability can spill over into our relationships, affecting our interactions with those around us. It can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and can strain our personal and professional relationships. But remember, it's not your fault. It's an emotional response to a state of chronic stress and exhaustion. Recognizing this change in your emotional state is a critical step in addressing burnout. It's a sign that you may need to take a step back, reassess your stress levels, and find ways to restore balance and peace in your life. When stress levels are high for prolonged periods, patience often becomes a scarce resource. It's important to pay attention to these changes and take action to safeguard your emotional well-being. Sign #4. Detachment. When you're feeling burnt out, you may find yourself disconnecting from the world around you. It's as if you're observing life from a distance rather than living it. You might find that your work, relationships, or even your own feelings seem distant and indistinct. This detachment is a common response to burnout. It's a way of protecting ourselves from the overwhelming demands and pressures we face. But here's the catch. While detachment might protect us in the short term, over time, it can lead to feelings of isolation and emptiness. You see, we're social beings by nature. We thrive on connection, interaction, and engagement. When we detach ourselves, we're cutting off a vital source of nourishment for our well-being. Moreover, detachment can also lead to apathy, a sense of why bother. This indifference can permeate every aspect of our lives. It can impact our performance at work, our relationships, and even our relationship with ourselves. And here's something to ponder. Detachment often leads to a vicious cycle. The more we detach, the less we engage, and the less we engage, the more detached we become. It's a tough cycle to break, but recognizing it is the first step towards healing. So, if you're feeling detached, take it as a sign that you may be experiencing burnout. Remember, it's a defense mechanism, but one that ultimately leaves us feeling isolated and empty. Sign number 5, neglecting self-care. Let's have a little heart-to-heart about self-care. It's not just about spa days or indulgent treats. Self-care is about nourishing your body, mind, and spirit. It's about setting boundaries and making time for what brings you joy and peace. Now, imagine a situation where you constantly put everyone else's needs before your own. You're always the last on your to-do list, and often you don't even make it to your list. If this sounds familiar, it's a clear sign of burnout. When overwhelmed by the demands of life, work, and relationships, we often sacrifice our own needs. This might seem noble or necessary in the short term, but in the long run, it's a fast track to exhaustion and resentment. Think about it. How can you pour from an empty cup? It's like trying to run a marathon without any training. It's not sustainable, and it's definitely not healthy. And here's the thing. Neglecting self-care doesn't just harm you. It can also affect your relationships and performance. When you're running on empty, you can't give your best to your work, your loved ones, or your passions. So, what's the solution? It's simple, but not always easy. Make yourself a priority. Find what nourishes you and make time for it. Remember, self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining balance and resilience. Sign number 6, decreased productivity. Have you been missing deadlines or finding it difficult to concentrate on tasks that used to be second nature to you? Perhaps your to-do list seems to be growing, even though you're working longer hours. When we're burnt out, our productivity can take a serious hit. Our motivation dwindles, our focus wavers, and tasks that once seemed simple can feel like climbing Mount Everest. You may notice that you're making more mistakes, or that your work just doesn't meet your usual standards. This isn't a sign of laziness or incompetence, but rather an indication that your mental and emotional resources are depleted. It's important to remember that we're not machines. We can't maintain peak productivity indefinitely, especially when we're under chronic stress. Trying to push through this state of exhaustion can actually make the problem worse, leading to further declines in productivity and potentially even health problems. Instead of trying to power through, it's crucial to recognize when it's time to step back and recharge. This might mean taking a day off, setting more realistic expectations for yourself, or seeking support from a therapist or coach. Remember, it's not about working harder, but working smarter. And sometimes, working smarter means giving yourself permission to rest. Recognize when it's time to step back and recharge, rather than pushing yourself to the brink. Sign number 7, loss of meaning. When we're caught in the relentless cycle of burnout, we often feel like we've lost our sense of purpose or direction. We find ourselves asking, why am I doing this? What's the point? This isn't just a sense of disillusionment or dissatisfaction. It's a profound feeling of aimlessness and disconnection from what once drove us. This loss of meaning, this disconnection from our purpose can be deeply unsettling. It can make us question our place in the world and our value within it. Work becomes just a job, relationships become just obligations, and life in general feels like it's lost its vibrancy and joy. The good news is, this doesn't have to be permanent. It's a signal, a sign that we need to pause and reconnect with our personal values and aspirations. It's a call to rekindle our passions, to reignite the spark that fuels our sense of purpose. Perhaps it's time to revisit old dreams, or maybe it's time to forge new ones. Maybe it's time to reassess what success means to us, or to redefine what happiness looks like. In the face of burnout, it's crucial that we don't lose sight of who we are and what we stand for. Remember, when we're aligned with our values and connected with our purpose, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. It's essential to reconnect with our values and aspirations to reignite that sense of purpose. Recognizing the signs of burnout is the first step towards healing and reclaiming your emotional well-being. We've explored 7 subtle signs that you might be experiencing burnout: a loss of passion, chronic exhaustion, increased irritability, detachment, neglecting self-care, decreased productivity, and a loss of meaning. These signs are often easy to miss, but they are critical indicators that you might be facing burnout. It's important to remember that burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that something needs to change in your life. If you identify with any of these signs, it's time to take a step back, prioritize your well-being, and seek support. Burnout is not a life sentence. It's a call to action. So take care of yourself, prioritize self-compassion, and remember, healing is a journey, not a destination. Before we wrap up, we want to remind you that your support is vital for us to continue creating content to help you on your journey towards emotional well-being. If you found this video informative and helpful, please don't hesitate to hit that like button. Share it with those who might benefit from this information, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us reach more people who might be struggling with burnout, just like you. We are here to support you, and your support helps us do just that. So let's continue this journey together towards healing and well-being. Remember, you're not alone. And as always, take care of yourself and prioritize self-compassion. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.